this is BioPhoenix here, and yet again we're going to be taking a look at another PS1 game, and this one happens to be Poppin' Tanks, and surprisingly this has nothing to do with the other game series Poppin' Music, and it was developed by Symbio Systems, and it was published by Enix, and it was released in 1999 and only in Japan. And it's hard to define the genre of this game. I mean, it's kind of like a fighting game, but it's also kind of like a vehicle combat game, so I guess I can say it's like a mixture between Virtua On and Twisted Metal. But just, you know, without the mechs, and also without the clowns that happen to be serial killers. So I'm not going to talk about the story here because not only is it only in Japanese, but also for the type of game that this is, it's not the kind of game you play for the story, so let's just get right to the good stuff. So you have 4 different game modes. There's Tank World, Story Mode, Quick Battle, and Custom Match. So Quick Battle is pretty self-explanatory, and Story Mode is pretty much like an arcade run, but just there's like cutscenes in between the different fights for the different characters that you pick. And Tank World is a mode where you actually start off with one of the tanks from the pre-established characters, and you fight other customly made tanks, and whenever you win a battle, you actually gain newer parts to add on to your tank. So in a way, this game mode is very similar to the one game I reviewed called Frame Gride on the Dreamcast. You know, the mech arena fighting game from FromSoft? From FromSoft. Man, that's never gonna get old. In Custom Battle allows you to play 2 players, with each memory card having data from this game to play as your customized tanks. So now, when it comes to either Quick Battle or Story Mode, there are 8 selectable characters, and all their tanks have different fighting styles. So when it comes to the fighting, it is a one-on-one tank battle, where you're in an open area with obstacles, and of course there are power-ups like health and more bombs, and there is some destructible environments. And the goal is pretty obvious. I mean, you just gotta pop a cap in your opponent's tank's ass. So you have 4 ways of attacking. So you have the weak-ass machine guns, which don't really do a whole lot. And then you have the medium-sized missiles, which you can only shoot a certain amount at a time, and then you gotta wait a little bit, and then you can shoot more of them. And then there's an attack button for close quarters, and then finally there is the big bomb. And each player starts out with 2 of them, but of course you can pick up more of them on the map. And that sums up the basic of combat, which, like I said, it's very similar to Virtua On and Twisted Metal, but the big difference is that this game is much more lighthearted and campy compared to those. So I guess if you think about it, it's kind of like the Charicue games, or what they were known as over here was Penny Racers, where they're using like cute little cars, but only in this case it's cute little tanks. So now let's get talking about the game's controls, and for the most part, they are pretty damn good. So the feel of them is really good. I have no complaints with the turning, although I will say it is very recommended to play with analog control. It is manageable with the D-pad, but trust me, analog is just way better. And the button layout for the most part is pretty good, so all the attacks that I mentioned that you can do in this game are all indicated on the face buttons. And R2 and L2 allow you to move the top part of your tank so you can shoot sideways. Now all of this is all well and good, but the only unfortunate thing is accelerating in this game, is that you gotta hold up, which is really fucking weird, but despite it being weird though, it was never really a huge problem for me because I was able to get used to it fairly quickly. I personally would have preferred if they used the acceleration button being like R2 or circle or X or whatever. You know, like a normal driving game, but for up, like I said, it may sound weird, but I actually think it does work with the game okay. Like once I figured it out, I never found it to be a huge distraction and it wasn't irritating whatsoever. Like, okay, maybe if they made like the acceleration button being like start or select or something, then yeah, I would have a big fucking issue with that. But other than that one thing, I gotta say, the button layout is pretty good and the overall control does feel, well, pretty good. So now let's get moving on to the other things, like the graphics, and the graphics for this game are actually really good for 1999. So the game is very bright and colorful, which really suits well with the game's tone. The tank designs are pretty cool for being cute, yeah, I never thought I'd say that. And the character designs are also pretty nice looking too. In a way, they do kind of remind me a little bit of Mega Man Legends. In fact, one of the characters in this game kinda looks like Raidu Kuzunoha from the SMT Devil Summoner games, but just he has a blue face. And of course you gotta have an edgy looking teenager dude. And also if Dr. Robotnik happened to hit the gym. So yeah, there is some pretty goofy looking characters. And the few anime cutscenes that do appear in this game, they actually look really damn good. So graphically, I really do think this game still does look really good, even for PS1. Yes, I know, it's a shocker. And I think the reason that is probably has to do with the fact that the tone that this game is going for is like totally not realistic looking, so it just looks a lot more appealing than a game that is trying to be realistic, and then it just, you know, looks like just a bunch of brown and gray crap. So much like the other PS1 game known as Team Buddies, it definitely does look really good. And now, as for the game's music, the music for the most part is pretty awesome. There's actually quite a lot of songs in here that are really catchy and do have some really awesome sounding guitars in it. And of course you have your typical military themes, which are pretty good for the kind of game that it's trying to be. But yeah, for the most part, the OST is really damn good, and it's a shame that I can't find any of the music, so that's why I'm putting random ass songs in here. So if anyone knows where they can get the music from, please hook me up. So now, if you do want to buy this game, of course, like I always say, if you do want to buy Japanese PS1 games, you have to make sure you have a way to play them. In this game, it goes for about $35 to about $60. Didn't see a lot of copies, but that's typically what I've seen them go for. Well, I can definitely say that $35 is actually not bad for a game like this. I was expecting them to be like all over plus 60. And who knows, maybe things might change once this video is uploaded. So now, as my overall thoughts on Poppin' Tanks is that this game is pretty poppin' fun and it did not pop my bubble. Okay, I really need to shut the fuck up about that, but to be serious though, I did enjoy this game. The battles in this game were really fun and quick to the point. Nothing in this game really felt tedious for me. And the tank world mode is pretty fun too. Now I do wish there was a little bit more customizations you can do, but what was given was still pretty nice. But as fun as this game was with just being one-on-one, I do kinda wish there was a fatal 4-way mode. Now I suppose it could have been a bit too crazy for this kind of game, but the thing is, if a game like Shaolin, which is like a beat-em-up fighting game, can have up to like 8 players without any problem, unless 4 tanks would equal to like 24 people or some crazy shit, but either way, it would have been really nice if we had that mode, but if not, one-on-one is still pretty good. And I still had a fun time just mindlessly playing this game. It's a good game to play in short bursts. Like if you want to play something that's quick and to the point, just like, you know, playing a fighting game. So this is a game that I can definitely recommend checking out if this is your kind of game. So it feels really good to play another good obscure game again. So of course, with that being said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.
You know what they say, the more the merrier. You know what they say, the more the merrier.